what is e-business? E-business is nothing but electronic business. Which company has to issue prospectus? It is usually the public company. What is the meaning of the word factoring? Factoring is nothing but you are just selling your debtors to one agent. Preference shares are those shares which have a preference over equity shares. What do we mean by stock? It is nothing but investment in the shares of a company. Hello everyone, I am Purnima, faculty in the Department of Commerce, Vidhyaashram Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence. I welcome you all to this session on the question paper discussion of the model question paper. Now this model question paper for the first year pre-university students of commerce, that is business studies. Now this question paper has been released by the PU board, and in this session, we will be having a discussion on the model question paper which has been released. Let us look into the time given for answering this question paper. The time here is 3 hours and 15 minutes. Now, you will have to answer for 100 marks and the examination duration will be for 3 hours and 15 minutes. Now, why this 15 minutes extra has been given? This is for the students to go through the paper. So, they should read the paper and just analyze what are the questions which have been given to them, and then they have to start writing. After that, you will be answering the questions one by one. Now, here the maximum marks is 100. So, you will be answering the 100 mark paper, and then there are a few instructions for the candidates. Now, what are the instructions here? First one is write the serial number of the questions properly as given in the question paper while answering. See, whatever is the number given in the question paper, please write the same number. See, if suppose they have given you the question number 1 here. Now, you have to write question number 1 only. Now, next, you don't know the answer for question number 2. So, you will be answering question number 3. Then, you should write the question number as 3 itself. There are a few students who will be writing question number 1. So, this is the second question I am answering. So, they'll write it as 2. Please don't do that. See, whatever is the question number, please write the same number. So, this is what is the instruction given here in this question paper. Write the serial number of the questions properly as given in the question paper while answering. So, the most common mistakes made by the students is they don't write the question number properly. So, this is the first instruction. So, you have to write the question number as it is given in the question paper. Please don't mix up the question numbers while writing in the answer sheet. Then, second one is write the correct and complete answers. So, you have to write the correct and complete answers. Don't write as you wish. So, whatever you know, you have to write. Now, let us have a discussion of the question paper pattern. So, in this question paper pattern, we will be having 5 parts, that is section A, B, C, D and E. Now, under section A, so here in this section A, so you will be having 1 mark questions. So, you will be given 15 questions. Out of that, you will have to answer only 10. So, there is a choice of 15 questions where you have to make a choice of 10 questions. Now, let us go to the first section, that is section A. Answer any 10 of the questions in a word or a sentence each. So, they may be giving you multiple choice questions, that is they may give you 4 options, or it may be in the form of a fill in the blank, or it may be in the form of a sentence. So, depending on the question, you have to answer. So, while answering the MCQ, that is the multiple choice questions, write the serial number or alphabet number of the correct choice and write the answer corresponding to it. So they have given you clear instructions what you have to do in case it is an MCQ. So most of the students, they just write the alphabet number and leave it. So please don't do that. Along with that alphabet, you write the correct answer also. Just write one word. What does it take? It does not take less than a second to write the word. My advice is you please write the word and also the alphabet along with the answer. So, and write the answer corresponding to it. Each question carries 1 mark. So, in this section A, totally we will be having 15 questions. Out of that, you will be answering only 10 questions. So, each question carries 1 mark. So, you have to answer in one word or in a single sentence. Now, there are 5 questions here. Now, the first question is just a direct question. So, name the economic activity in which people are rewarded with salary or wages for their work. So, this is the straight question which has been asked and you can write the answer in one single sentence. After this question paper discussion, I'll be discussing the answer. So, you just write it in a sentence or you write it in a word. So, depending on the question. Now, the second question here, it says the head of the joint family business is called. They have given you a multiple choice question. So, this is a MCQ question and here the multiple choice questions is they have given you 4 choices here. Now, you have to pick up the right one. Now, what is the right one here? The head of the joint family business is called the Karta. Now, what most of the students do is they'll just write C and leave the answer. What I'm telling you is please write correct answer along with this. Karta. So, you write C bracket Karta. So, this is how you will have to answer the questions. Then, give an example for departmental undertaking. So, you can write the answer. So, it may be the railway department or the water supply department. So, whatever it is. Then, so, in this way, you will have to write the answers. So, in this section A, there are 5 questions here and after that, the next 10 questions will be in the next slide. Now, coming to section B. In section B, they have given you 15 questions and each question carries 2 marks each. So, totally, you will be answering for 20 marks here. So, section B is for 20 marks and each question carries 2 marks. Now, let us see what are the instructions for section B. Under section B, they have told answer any 10 of the following questions in 2 or 3 sentences each. Each carries 2 marks. So, in section B, you will be answering for 2 marks only and you will be writing in just 2 or 3 sentences only. So, just follow the instructions as they have given in the question paper. Suppose you know something more, please don't write it because in the end, you will be getting only 2 marks for each question. Now, because why I am telling you this is, if you are spending more time for these 1 mark and 2 mark questions, then you will not find sufficient time to answer the long answers or the lengthy answers. So, as far as possible, you limit these answers to 2 or 3 sentences only so that you will have ample time to answer the rest of the 3 sections given in the question paper. Now, in this section B also, they are giving you 15 questions. So, out of this 15 questions, you will have to answer only 10 questions. So, all the subjects, all the lessons will be given. In section B, you can see that there are questions asked from all the lessons in the chapters. So, you have 11 chapters in this first year business studies. Out of this 11 chapters, almost you will be having at least 2 marks question from each of the chapters. So, you will be having 15 questions for section B. Out of that, you will have to answer only 10 questions. Now, coming to section C, it carries 28 marks. So, 28 marks and the number of questions to be answered is 7, but they will be giving you almost 13 to 14 questions. So out of these 14 questions, you will be asked to write only 7 questions. So let us see what are the instructions for section C. So under this section C, they have given answer any 7 of the following questions in 10 to 12 sentences each. Each question carries 4 marks. So you will have to answer about for 10 to 12 sentences each. So almost it will be just around half a page. So you may have to answer, and it will be around 10 to 12 sentences. That is enough. Please don't write very lengthy answers. Some of you will write pages together. Please don't write that, because the question carries only 4 marks. So if you know exactly what are the 4 points of the answer, please write it point wise. So that will enable the evaluator to just check the answers and give the marks. Please don't write it as an essay, and just write the important points and then give the explanation. Let it be neatly numbered so that the evaluator will get a better impression and he need not search for the answer in the whole of the story. Now, in this here we are given 14 questions and it covers almost all the chapters of the syllabus, and out of that you will be made to answer only 7 questions. So only half of the questions whatever you have read, so that will be answered here. Now next, coming to section D, so it carries 32 marks. So each question carries 8 marks. So as and when the section is going, so that is C, D and E, the answers become more lengthier and lengthier. So here they are asking you, answer any 4 of the following questions in 20 to 25 sentences each. So almost it should cover up 1 page of your answer sheet, and each question carries 8 marks. So whether it is a 4 marks question or a 8 marks question, please see that you write it in the form of points. So what is the main point and what is the explanation to that? So when your answers are neatly numbered and it is point wise, it will be carrying more weightage and the evaluator will be impressed and he may give you more marks for that. Now, under this section, they have given us 8 questions, out of which you will have to answer only 4 questions. So 4 into 8 comes up to 32 marks. So almost 1/3 of the total marks will be awarded from section D. Now coming to section E, that is what we call it as the POQ, that is the practical oriented questions. So in this practical oriented questions, it is related to applicability of the knowledge which you have gained. So whatever knowledge you have studied, so from the first PU syllabus, whatever you have gathered, so how you will be practically applying it. So this question is related to applicability of the knowledge gained. So that is why we call it as practical oriented questions, and this section it carries 10 marks. So out of this, each question will be for 5 marks and you will be given 4 questions. Out of that 4 questions, you may have to answer only 2 questions. So there is a choice. So out of 4 questions, you have to answer only 2 questions, and each question carries 5 marks. So totally you will be awarded 10 marks from this section E. So this is the question paper discussion. So you will be given the question paper for 139 marks, and out of that you will be answering for only 100 marks. So let us just see what are the answers for this question. Now let us see what are the instructions given here again. So answer 10 of the following questions in a word or a sentence each. So while answering multiple choice questions, write the serial number, alphabet of the correct choice and write the answer corresponding to it. So that is the same instruction which we had seen in the question paper. Now the first question here, name the economic activity in which people are rewarded with salary or wages. What is the answer for this? This is the question from the first chapter, that is the business, trade or commerce. Now from this first chapter we have this question. So what is business, what is trade, what is commerce, and out of that we have a comparison between the employment, profession and business. Now this is a question relating to employment, where any person who is in employment, he will be given a salary or wages as his remuneration. Now if it is a profession, what will be the remuneration? In case of a profession, the remuneration will be the fees. That is, we don't say that we are giving salary to the lawyer. We don't say that we are giving salary to the chartered accountant. We just say that we are giving the lawyer's fees or the CA's fees. So for the profession it will be fees, and for the business what will be the remuneration? It will be in the form of profits. So we should understand what is business, what is profession and what is employment. So under employment they have asked this question, name the economic activity where they are given salary or wages. It is employment. So if you write employment, that is enough. Then next question. So the head of the Hindu family business is called dash. So they have just left a blank space there. So they have given you 4 choices. That is what we call as the MCQ, the multiple choice questions, and you will have to answer in this way. So what you will write? The correct answer is the third one, that is Karta. He is the head of the HUF or the joint Hindu family. So he is called as the Karta, and so that is why please don't write only C and leave it. Write C and also the correct answer. So this is how you will have to answer each of the questions. So this is a question relating to the second chapter, that is the forms of business organization. Now coming to the third question, give an example for departmental undertakings. Now what do you mean by departmental undertakings? So we all know that departmental undertakings come under any one of the ministries of the government. So the government will be working through these departments. For example, the railway services provided by the Indian government. So it will be working through the railway department. So you all know how the railways are. So until the last year budget, we had a separate budget for railways also, but now they have just scrapped it. But you should understand how important it is, because the railways had their own budget as such. So these departmental undertakings, they come under the Ministry of the Government of India, and they are concerned with providing services to the people of India. So anything that is a major infrastructure projects which are for the benefit of the people, they will be taken up by the Government of India, and it will work through this departmental undertakings. So in addition to railway department, we have the post and telegraph department. We also have the BSNL as such. These are various departments under which the government will be providing services to the people. Now the next one, fourth question, which act regulates the banking service in India? So, Indian Banking Regulation Act of 1949. So, this act regulates all the banking services. Now, this is a question on the chapter business services. Now, what are the services of business? So, we all know what are the goods and what are the services. Now, services also can be sold, but then service will be given by the service provider. Now, here they have asked a question on the banking services. So, we all know that banking is an important factor of the economy. So, without banking, we cannot live. Now, in these days of digitalization, what you call, now banking sector has acquired lot of importance, and as such it is regulated by the Indian Banking Regulation Act of 1949. Now why do we need a regulation act? To see that all the banks function in the same way. So all the rules and regulations, they have to be followed. They are laid down in this Indian Banking Regulation Act of 1949. Next question, the DTH service are provided by what company? Now this is a MCQ question. The transport companies, banks, cellular companies, none of this. Now what do you mean by DTH? What is the full form of DTH? It is direct to home. So this is the full form of DTH. So direct to home services are provided by whom? They are provided by the cellular companies. Again C. So you should write C, cellular companies. Then the next question, the payment mechanism most typical to e-business. So first we should understand what is e-business. E-business is nothing but electronic business. Now we have this online business. You can just order anything online, whether it may be food or whether it may be anything, any product what you want to use, anything, whether it is a dress or a shoes or whatever. So you can always order it online and get it. Now, how do you order it online? That is, how do you make the payment? That is the question which is being asked here. So, how do you just order it online? So, when you are ordering it through online, so you will be asked to make a payment. The payment will be usually through the credit cards and debit cards. So, whether you have a debit card, you can make use of the debit card. Otherwise, you can also go in for the credit cards. Now, the next question, mention any one type of pollution. So, this is a question asked from the chapter Social Responsibility of Business and Business Ethics. Now, they have asked any one type of pollution. So, you can just answer safely. Water pollution. There are lots of pollution, whether it is water pollution, noise pollution, air pollution. So anything you can write, but I have written water pollution. Then the next question, a prospectus is issued. Now, which company? We have studied about the various types of companies. In that, there are two types. That is, first one is the public company, second one is the private company. Now, which company has to issue prospectus? It is usually the public company. So, just understand the question. A prospectus is issued by a private company, a public company seeking investment from public, a public company, a government company. So, anytime, whenever a public company is going in for public issue, it has to first issue the prospectus and only then it can collect the subscription for shares. So, a public company seeking investment from public. So, this will be the right answer. So, whenever there is a IPO, what is IPO? That is the initial public offer. So, whenever a new issue of shares is being made, we call it as the IPO, and whenever an IPO has to be done, then that company has to issue a prospectus. Now, that prospectus is what they have asked here. A prospectus is issued by a public company seeking investment from public. Now, the next question they have asked is expand SEBI. Now, the full form of SEBI is Securities Exchange Board of India. Now, most of the students, they make the mistake of writing Stock Exchange Board of India. So, that is wrong. It is not the Stock Exchange. It is the Securities Exchange Board of India. Now, the next question, what is business finance? Now, the finance required by business to establish and run its operations is known as business finance. So, we all know that finance means money. So, what do we mean by business finance? So, why we are joining that word business along with finance? Here, we are looking into what is the money needed to run a business or establish a business. Suppose you want to invest, you want to start a business. The main amount what you will be investing in the business, that will be called as the capital, and then from this capital, what are the various things you will be purchasing? So, only if you have capital can you run the business? No. we cannot run the business. Along with the capital, we need to have the fixed assets, we need to have the current assets. Then, in addition to all this, we also need working capital. So, to buy the fixed assets, we need money. To buy the current assets also, we need money. And to run the affairs of the business, the day-to-day expenses also, we need working capital. So, in whole, all of this comprises business finance. So, it is a money needed to establish and run its operations. Even to establish the business, we need money. To run the business also, we need money. On the whole, we can call it as business finance. Then, the 11th one is name one method of factoring. So, what is this factoring? We have studied in the chapter. So, there are two methods of factoring. One is recourse. Second one is non-recourse. Now, what is the meaning of the word factoring? Factoring is nothing but you are just selling your debtors to one agent. So, this agent will be responsible for collection of dues from the debtors. So, whatever the debtors you have borrowed from you, they will be just paying to these agencies. So, if you have debtors worth rupees 50,000 and you have sold this to one agent A, and so he will be just collecting this 50,000 from your debtors. This arrangement is what we call it as factoring. Now, in this factoring, we have two types. One is recourse, second one is non-recourse. Now, in this recourse, the risk of bad debts is borne by the client itself. So, suppose that there is a person A and he has debtors worth rupees 50,000 and he has sold these debtors to one Mr. B and he is the factor here. Now, if there are any bad debts here, so this will have to be borne by A itself. Now, the debtors who have not paid, A has to pay that to B. Now, this is recourse, that is risk of bad debts is borne by the client himself. So, he himself will be bearing the risk of bad debts. But then in the second type of factoring, we have the non-recourse. So, in this non-recourse, the risk of bad debts is borne by the factor. Now, this Mr. B, he is the factor here, or he will be the agent who will be collecting the dues on behalf of A, and A is the client here. Now, he has sold his debtors worth rupees 50,000 to B and B is the factor here. Now, suppose there are bad debts worth rupees 5,000 and if there is an arrangement that the factor has to bear the bad debts, then this 5,000 loss will be borne by B itself. So, you should understand what is recourse and what is non-recourse. Under recourse, the bad debts will be borne by the client himself, whereas in the non-recourse, the bad debt will be borne by the factor. So, whoever is buying all the debtors from the client. Next, in the 12th question, in which year MSME Act was enacted? So, it was in the year 2006. Now, coming to the 13th question, which type of trader acts as a link between the manufacturers and retailer? Now, the wholesaler is the link here. So, we have the manufacturer, then he sells to the wholesaler and then it goes to the retailer. So, this is the distribution channel which is being asked here. So, this is a question relating to internal trade. Now, question number 14, give an example for international trade in services. So, what are the various services which we can give internationally? Now, the first one is international travel and tourism. So, international travel, you want to go abroad, you want to see new countries, you want to travel around the world. So, you can do it through travel and tourism. Then, the second type of service is international transportation. So what is this international transportation? So you will be having this transport facilities all over the world. Then we also have this international communication services being provided, and lastly the international banking. Now why do we need international banking? So when you are going abroad, you need to have banking facilities to spend money there. So that is why we need international banking, international communication, international transportation, and also international travel and tourism. So out of these four, you can write any one of the example for that. Now, the 15th question, which of the following documents is not required in import procedure? Now, what do we mean by import? Import is purchasing goods from a foreign country. So you will be purchasing goods from the other abroad, and then what are the major documents you need? We need the bill of lading, we need the certificate of origin, we need the letter of advice, but shipping bill we don't need. Shipping bill is needed when you export goods to foreign countries. Now, so we have just finished section A, now section B. In this section, answer any 10 of the following questions in 2 or 3 sentences each. So each carries 2 marks. Now, they are asked, what is business? Now, what is the meaning of the word business? It refers. So you can write it, or you can also write business. Business refers to those economic activities which are connected with production or service with the main objective of earning money. So what do we mean by economic activity? Economic activity is any activity which generates income or which generates money. So that we call it as an economic activity. So we do this work with the expectation of money. So that is what we call it as an economic activity which are connected with production. So it may be connected with the production of goods, or it may be any services. So banking service, insurance service, warehousing service. So any of the services with the main objective of earning money. So the main intention is to earn money. So this is the main thing to call it as an economic activity. So we should understand that the business is always done with the objective of earning money. Then the next question, what is particular partnership? Now, one more thing I want to caution you students. Section B, again, there is a continuation in the question number. Now, most of the students, they write section B and they write again 1, 2, 3. Please don't do that. See, this is the question number which has to be mentioned when you are writing the answer. So, if it is question number 17 you are answering, write 17 and write the answer. Please don't change the question number, because it will be very hard for the invigilator or evaluator to know what is the question being asked and what is the answer you are telling in the answer sheet. So, in this question 17, they have asked a question on partnership. So, what is particular partnership? Partnership form for the completion of a particular project to be carried on for a specific time period is called particular partnership. Now, this kind of a partnership is done for the completion of a particular project. So, they have come together for a project. It may be a very big dam construction or a bridge construction or a very big building construction as such. So, when two parties come together to complete a project, then that kind of a partnership, we call it as particular partnership. So, it will be for a specific time period. So, until the project is over, they will be in the partnership agreement. So, that kind of a partnership agreement, we call it as particular partnership. Now, the next question is the question number 18. So, while writing the answer, you will have to write 18 itself. State any 2 features of government company. So, we all know that there are many types of companies. Now, in this, the government company. Now, regarding the formation of this, it is thus formed under the special act of the parliament. So, the parliament has to pass a special act to just form a government company. And then next they have told that the company can file a suit in a court of law against any third party and be sued. Now, going back to the definition of the word company, we all know that company is an artificial person created by law, and it can enter into an agreement with anybody. So it can be sued also. So in keeping up with that feature, we can say that the company can file a suit in the court of law against any third party and be sued, and the company can enter into a contract and can acquire property in its own name. So these are the features of a government company. Then next, the 19th question, give any two differences between goods and services. Now we all know what is goods and we all know what is services. Now let us see the differences here. So the goods are tangible in nature, whereas services are intangible. Now what is the meaning of the word tangible? Tangible is something which we can see, but services are intangible. Why do we say services are intangible? Because we cannot see the service. Suppose, for example, banking services. The banker is giving the payment for a check. So you can just receive the money, but you cannot see that. So this is intangible. Services are intangible. So you go to your doctor and get treatment for your fever. Then a prescription will be written by the doctor, and the actual treatment will be undergoing in your body. You will consume the medicines and then you will be cured of the fever. But then here you cannot see the service, but you can just feel the services here. And then the second difference is, in goods there is transfer of ownership from the owner to the customer, but services does not involve sale of a product. Here the services will be just provided. They cannot as such give the service to the customer, whereas in case of goods, the goods will be physically handed over from the owner to the customer, whereas you can just make use of the service. For example, you are making use of the bus service which runs from Mysuru to Bangalore. Then that bus service, you will have to sit in the bus and go to Bangalore in order to see that you are availing the bus services. So you cannot take the bus home, you can just ride it from Mysuru to Bangalore. Then the next question is, state any two resources required for the successful implementation of e-business. Now we should understand what is the meaning of the word e-business. E-business is nothing but electronic business. Now in electronic business, so what is the main thing we need? So first thing is, we need the mobile and we also need the computer, we need the internet, etc. So all these are the basic things we need for e-business or the online business or B2C or B2B, whatever it is. So we should understand, so there are certain necessities which are required to do e-business. Now the first thing is, you need to have a computer system to see that whenever there is a person who wants to purchase the product, so you should know who is purchasing. Through the computer system you can do. Then a well-designed website. So you should have a website which is well-designed so that it attracts more and more people. Then technically qualified workforce. So you have the system, you have the net, but then the person whom you have appointed, he doesn't know how to operate the computer. Will you have business? No, you will not have business. So you should have a technically qualified workforce who knows how to operate the system. Then system receiving payments. Now, how are you just receiving the payment? Whether it is the debit card, whether it is the credit card, or whether it is cash on delivery. So, depending on the mode of payment, you have to think of that. And then effective communication system. So, we should have an effective communication system in the country. Only then we can have a very good e-business. So, these are the various essentials for e-business. Now, the next question, that is question number 21. What is social responsibility of business? The answer is, it refers to the obligation of the business to take those decisions and perform those actions which are desirable in terms of the objectives and values of our society. So, what is the social responsibility? So, we all know that business will draw its resources from the society. So, whether it is money, whether it is land, whether it is machinery, whether it is materials, so everything the society will be providing to the business, and whatever business will give in the form of finished products, that will be in turn purchased by the people of the society. So, the business will prosper only if the society encourages this business. So, as such, the business will have an obligation to perform those actions which are desirable. So, the business should see that from this manufacturing point, there is no effluence going into the sea. So, some dangerous poisonous elements will be there, and we should see that there is no water pollution because of this manufacturing unit, and there is no air pollution because of the smoke going out of the factories, and there is no noise pollution because of the loud sound made by the machinery in the business unit. So, the business has a responsibility towards the society, so which are desirable in terms of objectives and values. So, whatever the values the society upholds, the business has to respect those values and objectives. Then, the next question is, state any two elements of business ethics. Now, what do we mean by business ethics? So, they are the moral values which are to be followed by every business. Now, what are the moral values to be followed by every business? So, that is, they should not engage in malpractices as such, and they should not do any unlawful or illegal business here. Now, in this business ethics, so it is the duty of the top level management committee to see that the business is in a very legal and lawful way. So, they are doing all the activities as per law. So, who has to decide that? The top management committee has to decide. Then, what about the code of conduct of the business? So, it will all be written here. It is in the form of written document which is referred to as the code of conduct. So, the business will have to follow certain ethics, and only then it can prosper. So, if it is just going through unlawful ways, then that will not be acceptable to the society, and this will have to be decided by the top management, who will write down the code of conduct of the business. Now, coming to the 23rd question, give the meaning of minimum subscription. Now, what is this minimum subscription? Company must receive certain applications, certain number of shares before going ahead with the allotment of shares. So, it must receive applications for a certain number of shares before going ahead with the allotment of shares. So, before the company allots shares to the general public, they should be minimum subscription. So, it is almost 1/4 of the total subscription. For example, they are issuing 1 lakh worth of shares, then at least the company should get at least 25,000 applications for shares. Only then it can go ahead. So, this is what we call it as the minimum subscription. So, if the company is not able to sell at least 25,000 shares, then it cannot commence business. So, this minimum subscription is that particular certain amount of shares which the company has to sell before it goes ahead with the commencement of business. Now, the 24th question is, state any two types of preference shares. Now, let us first understand what is a preference share. So, we all know the meaning of preference shares. Preference shares are those shares which have a preference over equity shares. What kind of preference they have over the equity shares? Now, in equity shares, they have voting rights and they can participate in the profits of the business. But in case of a preference share, they have a preference regarding the payment of dividend, and they also have a fixed dividend. So these are the two types of preference the preference shares has. So that is, they will be having a fixed dividend every year. Second one is regarding the payment of dividend. So in case the company makes a loss in that year, and then that loss will be carried forward, and the next year the company will have to pay the dividend for 2 years. That is the year in which it had incurred loss, and then the next year in which it incurs profit, it has to pay the dividend for the previous year also. This is what we call it as cumulative. That is, if the company fails to pay dividend in where there is loss, then that arrears of dividend will be carried forward, and in the next year when the company makes profits, so this dividend will have to be added, and then the entire dividend for the 2 years will have to be paid to the preferred shareholders. So that is what we call it as the cumulative preference share. And now coming to the non-cumulative preference share, so they will have to forego the dividend in case the company makes a loss in any of the financial years. So that is cumulative and non-cumulative. Then what is entrepreneurship? So in this, we should understand it is the ability and readiness to develop, organize and run a business enterprise along with any of its uncertainties in order to make a profit. So entrepreneurship is nothing but you are starting your own business. So if you want to start a business, then you should have the ability and readiness to develop. So you should have it in you to just start a business. So you should be ready to develop, organize and run a business enterprise. So you start a business enterprise, organize all the things what you need, and then run a business. So that is what we call it as entrepreneurship, along with its uncertainties. We all know that business comes with lot of risks. So you have to just manage all the risks and then earn a profit. So all these activities together, we call it as entrepreneurship. Then coming to the 26th question, what is intellectual property rights? The IPR. So what is this IPR? They are the rights given to persons over the creations of their mind. Suppose you have invented something, so that for your invention, you will be given that property right. That is, from your intellect, you have created a new invention, and for that, you get a right over that kind of a invention. So that is what we call it as the intellectual property right. They are usually given to the creator, an exclusive right over the use of his or her creation for a certain period of time. So for a certain period of time, you can enjoy the rights. What do you mean by enjoying the rights? So if anybody has to make use of that creation, he may have to pay you some money as a patent and then make use of that creation. Then next question is, state any two alternatives available for customers to make payments on mail order business. So mail order business is similar to online transaction. So the type of payment you can make is cash on delivery or net banking transfer. So any type, or you can also make use of the card also. Now the 28th question, give the meaning of a vending machine. So vending machine is kept in shopping malls or on roadsides, where you don't need any manual person there. So you don't need any person. You can just keep the vending machine there and go away. And then if anybody wants to use a vending machine, he can just operate it through by the help of a coin. So coin operated machine for selling the merchandise. So whether it is your water you need, whether you need milk, so anything, you can just insert the coin and just get the service. Then the 29th question is, what is portfolio investment? A portfolio investment is ownership of a stock, bond or other financial asset with the expectation that it will earn a return or grow in value over time, or both. It entails passive or hands-off ownership of assets as opposed to direct investment which would involve active management role. Now, this is portfolio investment is the ownership of a stock, bond or other financial asset. Now, what do we mean by stock? It is nothing but investment in the shares of a company. Then bond. So, bonds may be issued. It may be a debenture bond or a government bond, anything like that, or any financial asset. So, financial asset refers to any of the financial instruments which are there for investment. So, you are having a bouquet of all this. So, you are having shares, you have invested in shares, you have invested in bonds, you have also invested in various other assets with the expectation that it will earn a return. So, whenever we make an investment, it is with the expectation of earning a return on our investment or grow in value. So, the money which you have invested, it will have to grow. So, why do you have to keep FD in the bank? So, with the expectation that it will come with a certain amount of interest. If you just keep that money in the cupboard, will it earn interest? No. So, we keep that money in the bank so that it will give a return on our money. So, that is, we are earning a return or grow in value over time or both. It entails passive or hands-off ownership. So, you don't have to do anything. You have to just make the investment and keep it, so that it will. Under portfolio investment, it is just a passive investment. You just make the investment and leave, and over the period of time, the money will grow and it will earn returns. So, but in case of direct investment, we need active management role. Now, what is direct investment? So, in the morning you will invest and in the evening you will be just seeing whether the share prices has risen or fallen. But then in portfolio investment, you don't need any active management role. You just have to invest and allow the investments to grow. Now, the last question of this section B, mention any two major products which are imported by India. So, what are the major products imported by India? First one is oil. So, whether it is petroleum, diesel, so crude oil, India is one of the biggest importer of crude oil. Then we also import precious stones from other countries, and also we are the importers of electronic goods. So, we have just come to the end of this paper discussion. So, I have discussed section A and section B. Hope you have followed this. In my next session, I will be just having a discussion on C, D and E. Thank you.